So let's talk a little bit about self-esteem, because I think it is one of the absolute building blocks in personal development. If you're working on yourself, if you're working on your mindset, if you're starting to listen to self-help content, I think that examining your self-esteem is like at the base of that pyramid. I think it's really important. And I think that self-esteem, although it's about ourselves, I think it has more to do with other people than we even realize. And there's this quote that I heard from Anaïs Nin, and it says, "We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are." And I think what that's saying, what that's trying to teach us, is how our perception of the world, our perception of everything, our interactions with other people, our perception of the news, our perception of anything that happens to us, is not always the absolute truth, because we're seeing it through our eyes, we're seeing it through our filter. And if you have bad self-esteem, it's really easy to see the worst in situations and to expect the worst in situations. Now, there's a concept in psychology that says that our self-esteem was developed from our early experiences with people and what they expected of us, what they said about us. And now, if you're like me and you had really bad childhood experiences with verbal abuse and bullying, things like that, then it's really easy to get locked into low self-esteem, and it's really hard to get out of that. And that kind of becomes your reality, because at the time, you don't realize that there's anything else out there. When you're a kid, you don't even really know what self-esteem is. You just feel a certain way about yourself, and you don't even know why you feel that way. And as you get older, you can start to examine these things and go back and think about, well, what happened back then? Because that is a big product of why I feel the way that I feel today and why I'm experiencing things the way that I'm experiencing them. So I want to tell a little story, and it's about one of the things that I realized when I got older and I started examining my own self-esteem and doing personal development and learning about these things. And at the time when I went through this situation, I was completely blindsided. I didn't have any foresight at all. I just thought I was completely right about the situation. And in hindsight, I realized I was completely wrong. So I think this was when I was in high school. There was a classmate of mine, a young boy, and he was always trying to talk to me. He was always trying to follow me after class. Somehow he got my phone number. He was calling me. He was always trying to, get in touch with me. He was always trying to talk to me. He was always trying to, stop me if I was in the hall. He was calling my phone. And at the time, my thought, because I had such low self-esteem, was that this boy is trying to play a trick on me. He's trying to hurt me. He's trying to do something bad to me, because that was all I had experienced up until that time. I hadn't experienced people just being nice to me and liking me for who I was. But in hindsight, I realize now that that's what was happening. He liked me. He was trying to talk to me. He was trying to be friends or date or something. I don't know, because I was mean to him, honestly, in that situation, because I was going into self-protection mode, because I had such low self-esteem, and I was seeing the situation through the perception of the space that I was in at the moment. And that space was that everyone's out to hurt me, and I have to protect myself. And this kid, he's definitely trying to hurt me. There's no good in this. There's no way he likes me for who I am. That was so far from my thinking at the time. If you had told me that at the time, if my friends had told me that, maybe they did, I don't remember, I would have just said, you're wrong. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. This kid's, he's trying to mess with me. He's trying to play tricks on me. I really thought that's what he was doing. And, I wasn't nice to him because of that. And I think the other lesson here is, if you put yourself out there for someone and they don't take kindly to it, they just can't accept it. They just can't accept the gift that you're trying to give them at the moment. And that has nothing to do with you. I had nothing against this kid. I had nothing against this boy. He really didn't do anything wrong. It was just my own perception at the time. My own self-esteem was so poor that I just made this assumption that this kid was trying to hurt me, and he had good intentions. He really did. And I think that sometimes we go through our lives not realizing that we're in situations where someone's trying to do something good for us, but because of the way we see ourselves, we can't even understand their intentions for what they are, because of what we've internalized from the past and from the bad experiences that we've had. So I just challenge you that if you haven't really thought about your self-esteem and how you feel about yourself and where that comes from, to just kind of take a step back and start to realize in situations what your initial perception of and maybe like where that's coming from. Past experiences where you've made an assumption about something and you were wrong, because you can't change your self-esteem and you can't start to grow it and get more self-esteem and have a more positive view of yourself if you kind of don't realize where you are and where you've been and where you came from. And like I said before, I think that our past structures our self-esteem so intensely that as we get older, it's really hard. It's really hard to change it. And I think that if you had a lot of good experiences as a kid, if you had parents who were really encouraging and really did help you work on your self-esteem and accept you as you are and listen to you and prioritize you and let you make decisions for yourself, if you didn't have that kind of parent in your life, then it's really hard to do that on your own. And if you did have that kind of parent in your life, just try to understand that for people who didn't have that, self-esteem's a lot harder for them than it is for you. And they can't just flip a switch and turn on a different sort of self-esteem than they've had their whole life. So if you like this video, please like, subscribe. Any of that means so much to me. I make videos about self-development, self-discovery, self-exploration, all that kind of stuff. Just trying to help people better themselves, better their situations, because that's how I sort of bettered my mindset. And I'm always working on my mindset. And I do that by watching other people who've gone down the road before I have. And that's kind of what I want to do with this channel. And if you've watched this video to the end, thank you so much. And I hope this has helped in some way.